Hello, sports fans, and welcome to our episode 2 of Tuesdays on the Edge, our version of Overreaction Monday. I'm Riley. Join me as always by the fantastic Big Boy and always interesting Coop. How we doing?
Good, boys.
Pretty good. Ready for all this football over this Thanksgiving break here. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, it is.
It's a jam-packed weekend with all kinds of sports games, but starting it off, we're going to look back on what just happened this past weekend, a little Monday night action, and of course, some NCAA football as well. But with that, I'm going to start it right off with Auburn and New Mexico State. That was bad. I mean, you cannot be an SEC program and get smacked like that and not even lead for 1 second of the game. 38-10 or 31-10. Like, come on.
Yeah, that's a bad beat there. You pay a small school like that to come in there and whoop up on you. That's rough, especially heading into to this week's rivalry game with Alabama. So
yeah, maybe they'll turn it around and win. Who knows? But I doubt it. I think that is a bad showing for sure. And that's funny. These SEC teams always want to play the cupcakes, at the end of the season, which I think is very smart. I think people talk a lot of trash about it. I think it's the smartest thing you do. It's almost like another off week,
Oh no.
But yeah, that's not a good show for Auburn at all.
sure.
And I mean, like you said, it's a good bye week. You get those freshmen into play. Some of those other dudes may not playing those other games. But you still can't. I mean, that's just an embarrassment. You pay them $1.8 million, like A&M and App State last year. I mean,
yeah,
I'd like $1.8 million to come in and beat your ass, and then have your ex Auburn coaches talk shit about you. So, but with that being said, right here, always just like last week on Tuesdays on the Edge, we're starting off with different guys who are on the edge after this week. And who's it going to be? First, we're going to start off with the Browns, a life without Deshaun Watson. What are we thinking about that?
Listen, Deshaun is getting everything he deserves, I think. I think he had all this coming for him. And I think he's a crappy person, and he's a pretty terrible freaking football player, as you can see. So I'm glad he got hurt. Glad it came to him. I'm glad the karma caught up to him. So
yeah, karma's a bitch for sure. The rest, I think they might be better off now. And I know that sounds weird, but at least they know that this is nothing but defense, and we're going to have to, the defense is going to have to carry everything. They can't depend on PJ, so we'll see. I mean, their defense is very, very good. I feel bad for the rest of the guys, but I do believe the same way. Kind of karma's a bitch, and he's going to get it forever. And
yeah, for sure.
I mean,
now with signing old Joe Flacco, so they got old Joe.
Right. Yeah. Could revamp his career. I mean, they got a hell of a defense. Their defense is awesome. I mean, they got a run game. So
they definitely got the support around them. We'll see. I mean, it's a shitty situation for the Browns. A little, like you said, karma for Deshaun himself, but bad for the Browns and their team when it comes to that.
He'll get a massage and get it all taken care of. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. But with that being said, just like the edge on the week, last weekend, we're going right here to big boys, the Steelers. First one on the edge this week. What are your thoughts on why the Steelers are right there on that edge?
Well, I think that first of all, they just got rid of their offense coordinator, right? So it's going to be hard winning games after that too, But also, I don't think Kenny Pickett's that very good. I think he's struggling. I don't think he has the arm talent that we see most of the other guys have in the league. So yeah, that's what I think about the Steelers.
Yeah, he can't throw deep. I mean, and they've been trying to get rid of Canada, the fans up there for years now, literally. So we'll see. They got what they wanted. So
With that being said, I mean, Mike Tomlin's gonna save the day. I mean, he's gonna keep saving the day when it comes to Mike Tomlin, and I mean, he's just a winning coach, man. I mean, he's a winning coach at the end of it, and I just don't know if they're gonna, with him at the helm, if they're really gonna ever be to that fully on the edge if he keeps staying head coach. Just because I feel like this is every year, and he just finds ways to win.
I don't know
I
how
don't.
they've won half the games they've won. Like literally,
Yeah,
they should have won like 2 or 3 games. Like it's now their division. We'll see. Baltimore is to me is going to end up running away with it. The Browns. I think they are going to go down. You know, Steelers, Cincinnati. I mean, what are they going to do now? I mean, Joey
yeah.
B. To me, it's going to be nothing. So, you know, they can still win a couple more in the division probably, but Mike Tomlin is, I mean, to me, he's the second best coach there is right now. So
No doubt. I mean, if the Steelers were to keep winning somehow and turn it around after getting rid of that OC, I mean, you could argue Mike Tomlin to even be the coach of the year if they're able to make a run in that division. So
that happens though, man. New coaches come in and change things up, and I think the new OC is like a ex like Marine or something like that. He's gonna come in and get things going.
we'll
I think that's a quality of a good coach. You don't have all the tools, and you still find ways to win. So you can ask how, but I mean, numbers don't lie. He keeps winning, so you know that's a good head coach.
It is. It is. And with that being said, someone who's not a good coach, who has a lot more talent than him right now at the helm, is the Chargers. And that brings us to our second edge from this past weekend. It is the Chargers and Brandon Stanley. Brandon Stanley and that offense, brutal. Kellen Moore, just garbage again, just like he was with the Cowboys. Garbage back on that offense. They just it's literally the complete opposite. They find ways to lose. They don't find ways to win. And they have way more talent, way more skill guys, way better quarterback, probably better defense, probably too. Defensive guys, and they keep losing. And Stanley, if his seat was already not hot,
Oh,
and
he's done.
he was not
They,
already over that edge, yeah, I mean he's got to be there. I mean, and man, Kellen Moore's probably got to be there right there with him too. I mean, you can't have Justin Herbert and that Austin Eckler and Keenan Allen and like not put up 30 points a game. Like, I'm sorry, like it's just not something that you can do in for the Chargers. And like we mentioned last week, like that's a good Bill Belichick team right there. That could be a good spot for him. In the end of the day, we'll see what happens there.
Bill would go turn around that defense, though. I think that
their defense is decent. I mean,
it's
and they got
decent, but
Bosa, but Bosa's out now.
he's
so
out. He's done.
He's done. So yeah, I mean, and they have talent. I'm not the biggest Herbert guy. I think he's a stats guy. I mean, but stats put up points and all that. I mean, I don't know if he gets around, like you said, a Belichick type, but I they definitely should be better than their record reflects. So.
For sure.
No doubt. And shit, I'd even just let Mike Tomlin go over there too. I mean, give that dude some players. Stop making him do all the work in a team. But talking about last night's Monday night game, Super Bowl rematch at the Chiefs. Eagles came in. Hey, and talk about a team that finds ways to win. I mean, their offense still not clicking like it's known for. Their defense still playing pretty good. Chiefs defense, I mean, that's got to be the best defense Mahomes has ever had since he's been on the
Oh
Chiefs.
man, and if Mahomes starts getting that offense kind of putting together a little bit better, that team's dangerous. We saw that offense struggle last night. I mean,
They've struggled a lot this year.
they struggled a lot, and that defense.
I feel bad
really
for
picked them up.
Mahomes. I mean, he can't do he can only do so much. I mean, he ran for over 40 yards. Like, hey, he's throwing the ball to him. Like, he had one bad pick in the end zone. But like, he's getting the ball to him in the spaces, but it makes it hard when the defense doesn't have to be worried about every single receiver out there besides Travis Kelce. At the end of the
That's
day.
what I was about to say.
They're gonna
like the last play. They were freaking triple teaming Travis Kelce. Like, what are you gonna do?
Which like obviously he had his own problems throughout the night, like the fumble and dropping a couple passes here and there. But like, I mean, he still made those catches when he needed to on that final drive and put them in position to where they should have made that final catch to win the game.
Well,
that was a grope. That dude roped that thing 35 yards like it was nothing. And it hit him in the hands. You got to catch it. You got to catch it. And before that, when he went deep on that bomb, the previous, a couple plays before, you got to catch that. Standard got to catch that. I mean,
got to.
For sure. And then even they asked Mahomes about it post game, and he was like, "Well, they had Travis triple team, and that's the guy that beat him deep, and he threw it." Mahomes took the blame. He goes, "Oh, I thought I could throw it a little bit shorter to make the catch, but it was a good throw. I mean, he got to make that catch there." So,
yeah.
I mean,
that was perfect, but that was a dime.
Yeah, I mean, that was in his hands 2 different times. I don't care if it's a little drizzly or Tyreek Hill tweeted something about like, y'all go try catching a deep ball in the nights in that stadium. Bro, you practice in that stadium. You play in that stadium.
And I don't make $5 million a year.
Yeah,
I'll miss it. That ain't my job. That's your fucking job. Like, catch the ball.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, y'all try. Why don't you try? That's your job.
Yeah, but I don't know what they can. I don't know if there's really any saving that offense at this point. I don't know what you can change around, maybe besides getting more of a run heavy. I mean, Pacheco was rolling and he was dicing and making moves, and then they kind of just went away from it. And then that's when they started going those 3 and outs because they're dropping passes left and right or getting sacked. And I mean, being able to run on that Eagles D line like that, I mean, come on now.
And I do think their offense is the type that it'll click. You know what I mean? Like it can happen. It's not like a lot of offenses like, well, I don't know what we're going to do. Well, we have arguably the best quarterback in the league that's not hurt or named Aaron Rodgers. And we have the best tight end possibly ever. So we can build around that. And they were showing when they were showing like the all 22 out there, they'd have a linebacker on them and a safety every time. So, but it's not like, hey, Travis, just go get open. Like, but the drops, I mean, you can fix that. These guys are NFL wide receivers.
Yeah.
And, the other tight end too. I mean, he made a great catch. Mahomes dropped a dime when they ran like that little out to the sidelines. That was, I mean, that dude is talented, man. He's not my favorite person, but he is so talented, so good.
Like I said, if they start putting pieces together on that offense, that's going to be a scary, scary Chiefs team.
Yeah, because that defense is
defense is freaking legit, man. Like, good. That's a good freaking defense they got over there in Kansas City. So,
yeah, that's a good D. And speaking of somebody who's, we like to call it, not so far, even close to that edge, who was really on that edge the first couple games of the year, and that's the Broncos and old Russell Wilson and Sean Payton. Big boy likes to say it, let Russ cook. He's cooking.
Let Russ cook.
And he is cooking right now.
Yeah.
Him and the Broncos and Sean Payton, man, that dude just figures it out. People were bashing them early. You just needed to give him a little time. It's like a college coach. Like, you can't bash a college coach after his first year and a half, 2 years on the job. NFL, you can't bash a coach after their first 5 games on the season. For new team, all around, trading guys left and right. And then, man, they are on fire right now. I don't know what to expect out of them in the long term, but what do y'all think?
Well, I think it comes down to Russ not turning the ball over. He has the past 7 games, he's thrown 2 interceptions, but in the same game. Now, the 2 interceptions in the same game. The rest of them, he's not turning the ball over. So that's a big thing for him there.
So they're 5-5 right now.
Yeah.
They got the Browns at home. And a lot of these games, I mean, they beat the Packers, Chiefs, Bills, and Vikings.
Yeah.
And I know the Vikings was, after Dobbs, y'all think he's the next coming of Jesus Christ. So
Well, he finally just lost for you. So
yeah. But they got the Browns, Texans, Chargers, Lions, Patriots, Chargers, and then Raiders. So it's not like they're unwinnable. And the way they've been playing lately, that offense and that defense is coming along. The defense is really starting to step it up. And hey, man, after getting your ass whooped 70 to 20, that woke them up a little. And Russ has been doing good. He's doing real good.
Hey, listen to Big Boy. Let Russ cook. He's cooking.
Let him cook. Let him cook.
Let them cook. Let them running backs run the rock. They're just clicking right now, man. And like you said, their schedule coming up is pretty favorable for them, especially with the teams they've already proven that they can beat. So we'll see with them. I mean, they're definitely a team that's not even close to that edge, and they're climbing their way up the mountain, just like them whole Houston Texans, finding them ways to win still. CJ
Houston
Stroud.
Texans are about to whoop the Jags again.
He has 0 interceptions the last 4 games.
Russ.
He had 2 against Kansas City when they lost.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But the past 7 games.
Oh,
the past 7 games,
right.
he has 2.
Yeah.
And it's in the same game.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. It's a big, of course, NFL week, Thanksgiving games, all different kinds of games spread out. So we'll see what those boys do this weekend. But jumping back to the college ranks and what happened this past weekend, none other than the first topic, the Texas Longhorns covering that spread, going in there, not really ever trailing, not really ever looking in like a so-called like desperate situation, almost like a scary situation where you're like, oh shit, like this lead may be kind of toast right now. I feel like personally, I never got that feeling when watching the game compared to those last 3 games. When watching, you're like, damn, like this may get really bad and blow the lead and lose this game. But even when they were up 7 in the early in the fourth quarter, like I just never had that feeling, and it just felt like a team that knew that they were going to finish and not change how they were playing those first 3 quarters.
Well, I mean, what you saw there was that Iowa State's a hard place to play at, and that's what you saw in the first half. It's tough to get anything going, and so that I think that's the main reason why they didn't do so great in the first half, and why it's such a low scoring game. And then, I mean, obviously you get used to it, you pick up, and you go find to win the football game. So.
Yeah, and don't get it wrong, Iowa State, that was one of their games that they have marked, like we say every week. Like they came out playing, man, and
Oh, yeah.
UT did not let them. 9 yards rushing.
Insane.
They were fired up, man, and I really think that Quinn and Sark are just growing up. Like Sark is growing up as a play caller and a head coach in front of our eyes, and I really think he's learning how to deal with Quinn and just deal with the game and not just being an offensive coordinator. And he's showing maturity. And man, I'm behind him, man. I really think that could have been like one of those turning point games to me, because there wasn't a time where I thought that they were like, this isn't going to happen. They're a total team, and I'm excited for this weekend, man. And let's just get rid of those fucking Red Raiders and go to the Big 12 championship and not have to deal with anything. I'm really impressed with the team so far.
No doubt. I mean, I think you nailed it. And it's weird because, like you kind of said, you've had your Texas fans who are been, of course, hit or miss on Sark. He's not the full coach. Like, he hasn't changed, he hasn't matured. But right after the Iowa State game, like, there's none of that. I've not seen one bit of that, and everything I've seen is what you just nailed on, is how mature Sark has been as a coach, how much culture and talk has really been shown through what he's been talking about all season, and how much it's really showing through right now, and how of a for real coach he is, and just doesn't get up on those press conferences and just give you a load of bullshit. And he tells you for real what it's like, and it's showing now. And I've been backing him up since day one, and now it's like all these people are finally realizing, like, yeah, I mean, he's finally changing some. And I mean, the sky's the limit. I mean, there would be nothing better for them to just build off this and come in at home Friday night, day after Thanksgiving, and just roll. I mean, 21 points dub at least.
Look, man, if I told you that Quinn was out a couple games, you lost Brooks. I mean, you have a freshman starting running back, Sanders hurt, Worthy banged up, all the defensive guys, the linemen, Christian Jones, Banks was out. I mean, Majors was out, all that. And I told you they were still 10-1. You would say whoever that coach is deserves coach of the year, no doubt. And I agree with that, man. I mean, he's had a lot of adversity, and every single person gunning for you, and no holding penalties against the two best defensive tackles in the fucking nation.
Yeah,
and they
right.
don't get held.
Yeah, right.
Dude, every game. I mean, so it's really, and the game should have been a lot more, but if it wasn't for, that block in the back, you got to throw your hands up. The holding, I get that.
And they were even saying that really wasn't even like that much of a holding call from.
Well, I saw it. It was
Chip and all of them were saying they were pissed about it. Like, those were just obviously, like, maybe, yeah, it is holding, but there's probably a lot more other plays in that game that are way worse than that. Yeah. It should have been a holding.
It happens. It happens on most plays, yeah. But when Quinn kind of scrambled, I mean, that arm extended and the jersey was in his hand. I wasn't as mad at that one. I get why they called that one. Now, they could have let it go because they were letting him play, but there was also the pass interference on the I think it was like the second drive or first drive. Mm-hmm. That thing was halfway to freaking New York, and they still called. So
and I mean, at least Texas finally got a pass interference in their favor too on offense.
And if Quinn would have let that one go, that was touchdown all day.
And that's the thing I read today too, is like, I think Quinn's like found the deep ball a little bit. You can definitely say he's hit it more often than he has in the past. But if you really think back and look, last year it was always overthrow. There was no underthrows. Like, it was just overthrow. So now this year it's either he hits it or it's an underthrow. There hasn't been that really overthrow type situation. It's either right there in the fucking breadbasket or it's an underthrown, which honestly you'd rather have that underthrown ball, because you can make a play still and get a PI if the refs are being nice to you that day. But he's starting to figure it out. Their role, I mean, Baxter stepping up big. I mean, Blue didn't really have the stat line that maybe some were expecting, but he still came up big in situations, had a lot of good routes to get some catches too. And I mean, the defense is, they've done it all year, man, and they finally finished it off in the fourth quarter. Like the last couple of weeks, that's just been the biggest knock on them the last couple of weeks, is that finishing plays off in the fourth quarter, and PK with staying aggressive. And he did that. He saw Sark's press conference last week. That's for sure. He saw that.
Texas Tech runs the ball. That's what they're gonna,
Well, that's what I was gonna get to. Is I'm not gonna get too much into Texas versus Texas Tech, because I'll wait for that for the full pod, because I have a whole thing for that. But you can see how the world thinks of Texas, because this past week, me and Kay were looking for tickets for the Texas versus Texas game, and nosebleeds were like $300 a ticket, and I was like, "Is this the freaking Texas Longhorns?" Like, Come on, they must be 10-1. You know, they must be 10-1. They must be winning. So, you know, that's how the fans are reacting to, you know, Sark going 10-1. And like y'all said, is, you know, he's gone through all the adversity, and they appreciate that. So
No doubt. Well, looking around other college landscape, you know, Washington, big win against Oregon State. Stayed off that. They're right there on that edge. If they take that L, they're probably done. Playoff hopes done, even if they do win the Pac-12. So they survive in advance, which we'll talk about Friday on the Sports Roundtable Trio Edition. Full episode is Oregon State versus Oregon. Oregon State's got another chance to help UT out. But another team down in the ACC, Florida State, just a brutal break for them against a team. I don't even know who it was. They don't even matter. They're not. I don't even know what conference they're in. But
It's like South Alabama or something.
Yeah, it was something like that. But quarterback, first quarter, just brutal injury. College career's over, going to the NFL. But what do we think Florida State got coming up? They got Florida. Then they got the ACC championship against Louisville. Do we think without the quarterback, are they still talented enough to win out with a redshirt junior now at quarterback? Can't think of his name. But can they still win out? And then, if so, do you let them in?
I think yes, you let them in. If they win out, they deserve it. But I just, as a UT fan, you want them to lose this week to Florida, so all that's done.
Right.
You know.
Well, I was looking back and I was thinking back, and you know, I was young then, but it was like 2014 Ohio State. You know, it was like their third string quarterback was in, and he ended up winning the national championship for him. Like, you can't expect a team, like, you can't expect how the player's going to play just because he's, you know, not the first string quarterback. Obviously, yeah, it's a big deal, but like, that shouldn't be a reason not to get in. Like, if you win out and you're undefeated, like, you should be able to go to that. Like, the committee shouldn't look at, oh, you don't have your quarterback, so like you don't get in, you know. So I just look back to like that Ohio State year, you know, the third string quarterback goes and wins a national championship.
He was a dog too. What was his name? Cordell.
I can't remember his name.
He was big dude.
Yeah,
Cordell,
I mean,
Cordell Jones.
Yeah, Cordell Jones. Yeah, I remember that. He was
and I mean, it's the thing, like, which we're going to see tonight when the committee rankings really do come out. Are they going to get Washington that jump over Florida State from 5 to 4? Because, I mean, if so, that puts Florida State at 5. They're outside looking in without their quarterback. I mean, I don't think they're going to get in if those rankings change tonight. Even if they win out, I think there's just going to be a point to where there's too many top teams up there, conference champions with those first 4, and I think Florida State's just going to get screwed with that outside looking in, and it's unfortunate break for them, but I don't think the committee is going to want to go see a number 1 Georgia Bulldogs potentially play against that Florida State offense. But we'll see what happens.
I think if we just need, or as a UT fan, you need them to lose to Florida. Just let's get this done. They got to take at least 1 L. I think with 1 L they won't. You know, there's no way.
Yeah, I mean,
there's no way.
Florida or, I mean, Louisville. Louisville could very well do it in the ACC championship game too. So, and I mean, they're not going to. Louisville's not, if they win the ACC championship, they're not jumping into the top 4. I can promise you that. That's not fucking happening. They're too far back. That's not going to happen. So we'll see what happens. Rankings come out tonight, obviously, after this episode comes out. But man, these Tuesdays on the edge, they're good. Good way to look back on teams who are struggling, look back on teams who are really just proving people wrong and kind of shocking some people this year, and none other than the Pac-12, final year in the Pac-12 before they go to the Big 12, the old Arizona Wildcats. They're balling. I mean, they're playing good. They're playing some good ball, man.
Yeah, for sure.
They have who they got this week, and they got Washington, right? No.
No, they got it's probably Arizona State. It's probably the rivalry
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
'Cause I think Washington's got Washington State, Oregon State. So I'm sure they probably got Arizona State if I was to guess. More than likely.
Yeah.
Should be a Texas versus A&M matchup this weekend, but whatever.
Do you think they'll ever do that? Or you think they're going to stick with LSU?
I mean, we'll find out in a month whenever the SEC schedule comes out for next year with the exact dates. I mean, you would hope
They got to put it back on Thanksgiving, man. Come on.
I think so.
That's a
I think so.
staple. That's a staple. Come on.
if
I talked to
if
A&M,
it is, the trio's going next year. The trio's going.
Oh yeah.
at A&M.
At Caulfield. Oh, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, it is Arizona State. Yeah, they already lost to Washington.
Yeah, I mean, but they've played good and they've beat some teams in the Pac-12 that they weren't expecting.
I think there's a way they can still get in the Pac-12 championship too. So
yeah, I mean, obviously, if Oregon beats Oregon State this weekend, they're in that Pac-12 championship. But like I said, Oregon State can really draw some shit up this weekend and not only allow to beat Oregon, but also in the Pac-12 standings on who really gets in to play Washington. I don't know what that's going to end up looking like. But with that being said, before we close out this Tuesday on the Edge, we got your favorite, each of ours, Tuesdays on the Edge player, team, coach from last weekend. Big boy, who's on that edge going into this week for you?
Man, I was big on them in the beginning of the season, and then they cost me some money a couple weeks back. But the Seattle Seahawks, they were hot. You know, they were hot at the beginning of the season. They have San Fran, then Dallas, then San Fran, then Philly, then Tennessee, then Pittsburgh, then Arizona. So they're going to take, to me, 4, possibly 5 L's before the end of the season. So that, to me, is on the edge. They should not have lost to Los Angeles. You know, Baltimore, I understand, Cleveland. But, yeah, so to me, they're on the edge. I think they're at that tipping point where they could run off 4 or 5 straight losses, easy.
No doubt. Coop, who you got?
I got Mike Vrabel, Tennessee coach. They're 3-7. They just got beat by the Jags. He got asked about his job security this past week in a press conference, and he says, "I don't try to concern myself with that. I'm really focused on these players. I'm hurt for them." Well, he's going to be hurt without a job after this season. So,
you think so? You think they're going to fire him?
I think so. Yes, sir. If they keep playing like that.
Got no quarterback. I mean, Will Levis, I don't know.
Okay, then you also have freaking Derrick Henry. Hand him the ball.
No, Derrick Henry. Talk about
hand him the ball.
Gosh, listen, Derrick Henry's that next running back, just like the Dalvin Cooks of the world, where next year they're going to be non-existent. Bro, he's already working his way there. Look at Dalvin Cook this year. Done. He's done with, right? Zeke, done. That Derrick Henry is the next one. It's just part of it. It's part of how the running back game works in the NFL, man. And he's an older dude, and they're gonna bring in some young dudes to take his spot, and he can go to the Cleveland Browns and be Nick Chubb's backup next year. How about that?
He can come to the Cowboys. Come on over, Derek.
Yeah,
we'll rejuvenate your career. Come on over.
That's all I got.
All right, I like it. Well, I'm gonna go college ranks on the edge, and it's no other than Lincoln Riley, man. I mean, 7-5, their regular season's over, not making the Pac-12 championship. Who knows what bowl game they're going to go to? Caleb Williams, done in the USC uniform. I mean, you were better at OU, and you left to go to what you call the better national brand program, and you're going to go 7-5. I mean, they're not going to put up with that shit long. They may put up with that shit with you at OU for a couple of years, but USC and USC's big donors and big time past stars, you can't go 7-5 with what they call the best quarterback in the last decade. I mean, you can't do that.
He's been He's been going on the PJs too much, man. His private jet. He's been going everywhere. He's not focused on freaking game plans or anything like that. He's going wherever he.
Well, the
freaking
offense
wants
is
to.
good. The defense, I mean, if he had a defense,
Yeah, and they
he
just
has to do
fired.
something.
They just fired the coordinator.
Yeah, so he bought himself another year. I mean, I don't think they'd fire him anyways.
No.
But we'll see we'll see who ends up taking their quarterback job. I mean, we know they got dudes loaded out, but no one has proven themselves yet. So we'll see if he can turn someone into what he's had the last 5 years going back to Oklahoma. I mean,
Well, and they go to the Big Ten next year.
yeah, I mean, that's why those offenses run. So he's got some shit to figure out. If I'm USC's donors, I mean, you can't just go lose to UCLA Chip Kelly after they said that they're firing him and they still let him coach the game and they go and just beat your ass. Like they not only just barely won, but they double-digit win against you, in-state school, like going to the Big Ten with you. Like, that just can't happen. I don't care if you don't have a DC. Like, you barely put up any points on UCLA. Like,
well, and there'll be defenses. I mean, there'll be running games in the Big Ten that if their defense does not get considerably better, will run for 400 yards on them, and just you won't have a chance to get out there on offense. So yeah, it is interesting. It's kind of funny to me. To me, one of the reasons he left OU is because they were going to the SEC. He got over to the Pac-10 like, I'm just going to dominate the West Coast, get any player I want, and then 6 months later they say, oh, by the way, we're going to the Big Ten.
yeah, no doubt. I mean, we'll see what happens. Make sure y'all tune in to this Friday's episode at noon of the Sports Roundtable Trio Edition as we tune in to what those matchups look like this weekend. Texas rundown, all kinds of Thanksgiving action. It'll be a little shorter episode with being Thanksgiving week, but still plenty of games for us to talk about heading into the weekend. But that brings us to the end of Tuesday's On the Edge adventure, guys. We hope you enjoyed the ride as much as we do. And man, remember to subscribe, like, share the
Big
love.
boy, hit that bell.
Ring that bell.
Ding, ding.
And hey, share if you want to stay on the edge with us every Tuesday. We're almost at 100 subscribers. Let's hit it. Let's do it. Until next time, boys, stay curious and stay on the edge and have a fantastic Thanksgiving and sports week. Peace.